Welcome back to Grannie Charlotte's Adventure Stories. Today we're on Chapter 3 of Little Pilgrim's Progress. As always, we have a vocabulary word, and today it is just one word. And the word is worldly. Worldly means when you only think of yourself and what is fun all the time. That's the word worldly. And it's actually a person that Pilgrim's going to meet today. So let's get reading. Little Christian felt very much inclined to cry when he heard the voice of a friend. He had almost made up his mind that Evangelist was wrong and that the king did not care to have little children traveling along the road to his beautiful city. I am so small, he thought, and so stupid. I cannot even get safely across this plain. And what should I do if I have to come upon a high mountain or a deep river? But just at that moment, a boy named Help, who was one of the king's servants, came near to the slough and saw poor Christian struggling in the mire. Help was a kind-hearted boy, and he ran at once to see what he could do for the child. "How did you fall in?" he asked, but little Christian could not tell him. "Evangelist said I was to go to the wicket gate, and I did not know about the marsh." "Didn't you see the stepping stones?" "No, I was talking to Pliable, and we were not looking at the ground." "Well, that was foolish." "Where is Pliable?" "He got out, but he went home and did not try to help me." "Well, don't be frightened. I shall be able to reach you in a minute. The king will always take care of you. I wondered why he sent me over the plain today, but it was because he knew you would need me. Take hold of my hand and put your foot here. There, now you are quite safe." Little Christian stood trembling with tears in his eyes. "You are very kind," he said. "I should never have got out by myself." "No," replied Help, "I don't think you would have. Are you going to the Celestial City?" "I wish to go, but I'm afraid the way will be too hard for me. Perhaps I'd better wait until I'm older." "No, you must not wait. The king will watch over you, and whenever you need a friend to help you, he will send somebody." "Are you sure?" asked little Christian. "I am such a little boy, and the others all said I was stupid." "Never mind what people say. If you're one of the king's pilgrims, you are quite safe. You may find the road long and hard, but if you keep on bravely, you will come to the city at last, and then you will forget your trouble because you will be so glad to see the king." He spoke so kindly that little Christian did not feel afraid talking to him. "Do you think I shall find my mother in the Celestial City?" he said. "She is with the king." "If she is with the king, you will find her. Is it long since she went away?" "She went away when I was a little baby. I can't remember her at all, but we have her picture at home, so I shall be sure to know her. She looks so sweet and kind. Sometimes I cry because she cannot love me." "But she does love you," said Help. "The king does not let his people forget. I have no doubt he has told her already that you're coming to the city, and she will be watching for you." He had been kneeling on the ground, wiping the mud from little Christian's clothes with tufts of soft grass. He rose now, saying, "You have soiled your things very much, but you will have new ones before you get to the city. Don't lose sight of the light over the wicket gate, and walk as quickly as you can until you reach it. Goodbye, and remember, the king will take care of you." "Just tell me one thing," said little Christian. "Have you been to the city yourself?" "No, I've been very nearly close to its gates, and then the king gave me some work to do for him, and I shall not go to live in the city until it's all finished." "How long will it take me to get there?" "I can't tell you that. For some people the journey is longer than for others, but if you love and obey the king, he will be sure to guide you to the city at the right time. Now I must go. If you are frightened again, cry to the king, and he will hear you." Not very far from the city of destruction there was a hill, and beyond the hill a little village. In this village lived a number of people who called themselves the king's servants and pretended to love and obey him, although they did not really care anything at all about anything except their own pleasure and safety. They'd been afraid to stay in the city because of all that the strangers had told them, but they did not wish to have the trouble of going to the king's city, so they built houses and made fields and gardens for themselves beyond the hill, and fancied in that place that they were quite safe. A boy from that village, whose name was Worldly, happened to be walking across the plain on the very day little Christian began his journey. Worldly knew Christian by sight, because the people from the village often went into the city to visit their old friends. And when he saw the child coming, he wondered what he was doing so far from home. And here we have a picture of Worldly from an old book, and this was when Pilgrim in the book was an adult instead of a little boy, and Worldly is a wise, supposedly wise old man. Let's keep reading. "Is that you, little Christian?" he said. "You are a long way from the city." Worldly was a tall, fine-looking boy, and little Christian felt pleased to be noticed by him, so he answered at once, "I'm going to the wicket gate." "The wicket gate? What for?" "To get rid of my burden." "Oh, of course," replied Worldly. "I know those burdens are tiresome things. It isn't everybody who can feel them, but when you do feel them, there is no comfort for you until they are gone." Little Christian was kind of surprised to hear Worldly speak in this way, for the boys and girls in the city had all laughed at him and had declared that his burden was only imaginary. "I hope I shall not have to carry it very much longer," he said. "I am making haste to the wicket gate." "Who put it into your head to go there?" asked Worldly. "I met a very kind man named Evangelist, and he told me to go." Worldly laughed. "He may be very kind, but he is very stupid. I know him quite well. Look here, little Christian, I can tell you a much better way of losing your burden. Don't you trouble to go all of that one journey. Yes, you see, I know exactly what Evangelist told you to do. He tells everyone the same thing. You have been in that horrid slough already, and if you go through to the wicket gate, you will find worse troubles than that. There are wild beasts and all sorts of dangers, and very likely you will just die of hunger and fatigue." "Oh, but my burden is heavy," sighed little Christian. "I must get rid of it. And Evangelist said that was the best way." "Well, of course, you can do what you like," replied Worldly. "But I think you're very silly. How did you ever know that you had a burden at all?" "I read it in the king's book that everyone has a burden." "I thought so. That book is all very well for clever, grown-up people, but little boys like you can't understand it. You read it and you don't know what it means, and you just get your head full of nonsense. Now, I'll tell you what to do. I wouldn't go back to the city because you will always feel frightened, and it really isn't a very nice place to live in. If I were you, I should go round the hill to the village. I've some friends living in the first house you come to, and if you tell them that I sent you, they will take you in and be as kind as possible. Then, in a few days, you'll forget all about your burden, and I don't suppose you'll ever feel it again." Little Christian felt puzzled. Worldly spoke so kindly that he could scarcely help believing what he said, and he thought it would be very nice to live near to his old home and to be able to see Christiana sometimes. "You can't do better than take my advice," continued Worldly. "Never mind, Evangelist. That is the way, past the hill. You can't mistake the house because it is the first one you come to. Then he put his hands in his pockets and walked off, whistling a merry tune. And little Christian forgot all about the king and his message and turned away from the wicket gate to go to the village beyond the hill. And that's all of our reading for today. Well, thank you for joining me today. And as always, wash your hands, brush your teeth, and eat an ice chip. Lemon was so good yesterday, I'm going to have another one today.